Okay, this presentation is on my method that I developed for coaching with the aid of the horses. Most people, when they hear breathing with horses, probably think this is going to be a lecture or a talk about horses, but actually it isn't. Of course, horses are a big part of what I'm going to discuss, but what I'm really interested in is people, how we react, how we deal with pressure, how we connect with other people, how we see ourselves, why we keep doing things that don't work for us, and sometimes why we know exactly what we should do, but yet we still can't do it. And that's where the horses come in. And the main aim here is horses mirror how we handle pressure and connection, and they can help us see the reality of a situation and aid us in getting back to where we really want to be. It all started with a book that is called Breathing with Horses, Life Lessons I Learned from My Father. I didn't write the book thinking, oh, I'm going to make this into a coaching method. I wrote the book a year ago, exactly, on lessons that my dad had taught me, and it's spoken about all his life and things that as kids we brush off. I took all those lessons and applied them to different situations with the horses and found out that there was a lot of similarities between what he had taught us and what was happening with the horses. As I said, the book was published a year ago for his 1-year passing commemoration. And these are things that I've learned, but dealing with the horses by my own personal experience with the horses. And that's where I began connecting everything. After I studied the first course of the coaching, it suddenly clicked in my mind that I had to do something with the horses. And breathing with horses is a culmination of all those things together. What's amazing with the horses is your words don't work with them. You can tell a horse, I'm fine, I feel calm, I'm confident, I'm not afraid, I can do all this. They listen to the words, they hear them, but they have absolutely no meaning. The horses respond to what you're feeling, the way you're breathing, the way your body language is, the way you move. If you're tense, if you're relaxed. And all this I started noticing while doing breathing exercises with the horses. And that's where I got to thinking that if this is what we can do for the horses, and they can relay back to us what we're thinking, and they can help us change our way of being, then we can use that experience and that knowledge to help us notice things within ourselves that we wouldn't normally notice, or things that we wouldn't normally pay attention to because it has become so much our everyday way of life. Now, I'm going to show you something. What I want you to do is watch the person, not the horse. Watch their breathing, watch their body, notice what changes, concentrate on what is happening with the person. Okay, and now I want you to watch the second video. Again, concentrate on the person and not on the horse. Okay, what did you notice? What did you notice in the body language between the two videos? What stood out to you? Because here, we're not telling the horse to behave differently. We're not doing anything differently in terms of what the horse has to do. In the video, you can see something changed within the person, and the horse responded. That gives us information. And the information that came out of these two videos was more than I could have gotten from a conversation by asking the person how he was feeling. Now, just a bit of background. In the first video, this guy argued with me that he's relaxed, and that he's breathing, that he's relaxed, that he's feeling calm. And I didn't argue anything back with him. I just let him be on his own. The second video was after we did some breathing exercises. And of course, the results are completely different, which we can see the reaction of the horse, which is giving feedback. And his actual comment to me afterwards was, wow, in the first video, I thought I was relaxed. I didn't know what relaxed feels like until I saw the reaction of the horse in the second video. So this is something which we can all take into our everyday lives, because most of us don't really breathe. We're in such a rush, in a rat race, in what we're doing, that we don't breathe. We take in air and we let air out. But when was the last time you actually stopped 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and just concentrated on breathing, taking in air, taking it out? Most of us don't do it. Okay, what we can see happening here, and as I said, none of us really think about breathing. It's just something we do. But anything can change our breath, whether it's stress, whether it's fear, whether it's pressure, anger, excitement. And most of the time, our breathing pattern changes and we don't even notice it. And what I do in a session with people, instead of asking them when they say they're angry or upset, I don't ask them, why are you like this, or what could have caused this? I ask them a simple question. What is happening with your breathing right now? And that small question can be very powerful. And as you can see from all of these photos, when a person breathes calmly, deeply, he becomes in a synchronization with the horse. And you can see from each of these pictures, the horse being Rocky and the client are in total synchronization. Oh, sorry. Okay, this is a video which didn't show up. I'll have to fix that. Side note, Les, just so that you know about the video. Okay, what we're going to do now is a very quick exercise. I want you to all close your eyes and don't change anything in your breathing. Just notice what is happening. Is it fast? Is it slow? Is it deep? Is it shallow? Where do you feel it? Some people feel it deep inside their stomachs. Some people breathe very lightly and feel it in their chest areas. What happens is now you suddenly notice where it is, only because I asked you to pay attention of it. And sometimes this awareness is the only thing we need to suddenly become aware. When are we actually breathing? And when are we breathing properly in order to relax ourselves, in order to calm a situation? It's a very simple thing, and yet can be very powerful. When life gets difficult, what do you do? Now, we all have ways of dealing with difficult situations. Sometimes we try to control the situation. Some will avoid the situation. Some will fight. Some will try to please just to keep everybody happy. Some will shut down, and some will just keep pushing harder. What you can see here is Shai had a total plan of doing an obstacle course, but Rocky wasn't so eager to participate. He just stood his ground, and she actually, you can see her trying to control, it didn't work. Trying to fight with him, it didn't work. Eventually she found a way to get him moving again. Now what's interesting is these patterns didn't appear for no reason. At some point, they probably helped us with certain issues, but it doesn't mean it has to be that's the pattern for every time something comes up. And a lot of these patterns that once helped us can eventually become something that can get in our way and slow us down. Not only slow us down, even a worse effect, and cause us to stop doing something completely. Okay, when we talk about what are you actually feeling, people will say, I'm stressed, I'm angry, I'm anxious. We use these terms very broadly, but there can be many things that are underneath one word, many different layers. And sometimes it's very difficult to pinpoint what one emotion is actually causing us to feel. And this is my Geneva wheel of emotion that I use with the horses. Because I work physically with horses, I can't really use the conventional Geneva wheel that is on paper, and so I have built my own. Now, I don't, let me start again. This is how we can use the exploration with the horses, using the Geneva wheel of emotion to get more underneath the emotion. Not just to say, I'm feeling angry and then leave it at there, but to actually experience the anger, to feel what happens to our body when we are experiencing anger, to feel what's happening to our breathing when we are experiencing the anger. And that exploration we can do by using the horse. Now, he isn't there to give us an answer. He's just part of the experience. And what happens is the person is noticing what's happening in themselves via the horse. And this makes that emotion so much more real, and also afterwards so much vivid in their mind and easier to deal with once they have actually seen the physical effect of it. Now, if we watch in this video, keep in mind all the time the feeling of hope. And keep in mind all the time the feeling of hope. And what we've done here is basically taken, she chose the yellow color as a feeling of hope for an issue that we were dealing with. And she built herself an obstacle course, where each thing represented a different path along the way that we had to go to. Okay, this is now what she describes after doing that obstacle course. Okay, we have here now, this is the obstacle course that you built with the feeling of hope. After we dealt through with this one, as you can see in the red, dealing with anger. Okay, on what is this course based now?
Okay, so these are still those stepping stones from anger to hope. And then that there with all of the hoops is related to the situation, is a circle of abuse. Okay, because it's a continual thing from what I've been used to. Sorry, with my, yeah, and now with Morgan, because it's the same and it needs to stop. So we want to go around it. And then still you're stepping forward. The hurdles will get, and challenges will get less. And that there is still hope, because there's always got to be hope. And then at the end, it's a yellow flag.
Yellow flag.
Yeah.
Okay, that was basically her explaining how she saw the hope and how she dealt with the emotion and how she built it out in an obstacle course. Okay. A lot of the time I hear from kids, let's say, that they feel they are not being heard. They're not being heard, and then they don't have confidence. And I could spend a lot of time talking about it and trying to figure out what happens. But I found that way easier when I put it into an identity wheel. Because we often find that that the problem is not on a one level. It flows over into other parts of their lives, over into other aspects. And suddenly we find they're affecting themselves in all different levels of their life. This is my identity wheel, where with this guy, a really nice guy, complained that he wasn't being heard. Nobody was listening to him at home. This spilt over into school, into friends, into everything that he was doing. His first round, he walked around with Rocky. In order for him to have the confidence to do it, he had to put his Barcelona hat onto Rocky's head. And Rocky very much went with him. But that is what made him give the connection to Rocky. After working with this identity wheel, working on the problem of confidence on his part and control on the part of his mother, I then asked them to build an obstacle course. And I didn't tell them that this exercise is going to teach them confidence or build them confidence, because that wasn't the point. The point was to see what he could do and where she stood in this whole picture. Once he had done the walk around with Rocky, he became much more aware of himself, of his breathing. He ended up standing taller, his head held high, his shoulders back. And they built this obstacle course. And what was really interesting that came out of this is that he actually was controlling the situation. He was telling his mum where to go. He knew exactly what he wanted. He knew exactly how he was going to do it. And he was explaining to his mum exactly how to do the obstacle course. You could also see the way they're holding the horse. Rocky he's holding him at the end very loosely. She's more controlling. Basically, what this did is let both of them suddenly realize through this exercise that he knew what he was doing. He knew what he wanted. When he was saying that he wasn't doing good at school, he didn't like the people, he didn't feel comfortable there, the mother suddenly realized that she had been ignoring him through the whole year. And through this exercise, he actually realized that he's got confidence. He knows what he wants. He knows his direction. And it woke his mother up also to sit and pay attention. They left with a really great plan of action. But that was the moment where the people actually saw their own pattern developing in front of their eyes. And this is something, again, that we can all take into our daily lives. How many things do we do just out of habit? Do we really have a look? Are we really aware of what we're doing, or are we just going with it? And so it's very important to be aware of what we're doing and not just do something for the sake of it, but especially if you're feeling not good in a situation, to stop and say, okay, let me reanalyze it. What can I do? Now, when you see this pattern happening in front of you, the horse doesn't create the pattern. It basically just reveals it. And once the horse reveals it, it's much harder to hide it from yourself. We can see here impatience. Okay, Rocky just wasn't interested, and she was getting a bit impatient, trying to pull him. He put his head down. His ears are back, which means he's not really having his attention on her, planted 4 feet, not moving. There you can see somebody with a need for control. You can see where she's holding the rope, not giving him a strength of, or a bit of movement in either way. Calmness. Rocky, she's barely holding him. His ears are forward. She's hanging on to him, giving him a hug. Very happy. 2 things that I want you to take notice of at this point. This video, where we did the video of hope, aggravation. Her aim here was she made the obstacle course with anger. Now pay attention to how she's leading Rocky and the interaction between them, what's happening. And this is all the time she's thinking in her mind, anger. And this is her body language when she's dwelling on the anger that she's feeling. Now, if you think back when she did the course with the hope, how easily and freely she worked and how relaxed she was. Here, she's actually in an internal battle with Rocky to get moving. Stress. This little guy was determined to stand by the horse like this. It was his idea. He wanted to do it. But you can see from his face, he's stressed. He's not relaxed. He's not really enjoying it. And he's trying to do it to prove a point, I think, to his mom that he's capable. But you can see by his face, he's not really happy. But we'll come back to him a bit further on. You can understand something and still not change it. This is something that I think that is really, really, really important. Because a lot of us, we understand why we're doing something. We can talk about it. We know where we came from. We know why we're doing it. Tomorrow we'll still do the same thing. But yet, understanding it intellectually doesn't mean that our body knows how to respond differently. And that's why this work is experiential with the horses, because we don't only talk about change, we experience it. It happens through the process automatically, naturally, without actually putting in any effort. Another thing important for all of us is that we all have things that we do, and we keep saying, I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to do it again. This is the last time that I'm doing it. And comes another couple of days and we do exactly the same thing. So we can start creating awareness in ourselves when we see a pattern happening. Why do we keep doing it? To stop and say, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. Let's see where I can start making a change in order to change the pattern. Why is it so important to pay attention to our bodies? This is one of the most powerful sessions that I've had with somebody. What I want you to do here is watch the person and watch the horse. Watch the two of them together, and we'll discuss it a bit after. Okay, what did you notice? What did you see change throughout the video? This video isn't about diagnosing anything. The history behind it is 3 months ago, the client had an operation on her ankle. And as you saw in the first circle, she walked fine and Rocky responded to her energy and walked with her. After the first turn, you saw him kind of lagging along. After the second turn, you saw him actually start limping and walking unevenly until he stopped and started pawing the ground. Now, when a horse paws the ground, it's all irritation, aggravation, impatience, or lack of interest. And that's the point exactly where I stopped her and asked her what was going on. And she asked me why, and I explained to her the pawing of the ground. She said to me that halfway through the last circle that she was doing, her foot started hurting her, and it got really sore to the point where that was the point where he started digging. And basically what he showed her is to be aware. This was giving us information. He was feeling her pain, and he straight away stopped and started pawing the ground. He wouldn't go on. He wouldn't let her go on. And you can see all the time that I'm talking to her, he's still pawing the ground in not in a calm state. And after I spoke to her, it turns out that this is her way of operating. She'll take on a project, she'll commit to something. Halfway through it, she'll find it's no good for her. It doesn't help her. She doesn't feel comfortable doing it, but she won't stop. She'll push through it. Just like here, she was trying to push through the pain to finish the course. But he doesn't know that it's pain. He felt some change in her energy, something uncomfortable, and it made him stop. Straight after this, I called her sister. There were two of them. I called her sister to do the same course. And her sister did it with no problem, meaning there was no problem with the horse. It's something that he was experiencing from her. And the important lesson here, that sometimes we're so busy trying to think our way through a problem that we forget to listen to what our body is telling us. We are trying to push down the feelings and rather try and work with a logical explanation, which this, I feel, is one of the most important videos that could have happened during a session, because it just showed exactly how you can't hide what our body is trying to tell us. Okay, remember the kid we saw? The one who was stressed and scared of the horses? He's 8-year-old. He had to give a presentation at school in front of the class. The presentation was supposed to be in the middle of the year. It was already May, and he hadn't done it yet because he was too nervous and didn't have enough confidence to stand up in front of the class and give the presentation. Anyway, he came over, and we didn't discuss the presentation. We didn't discuss confidence. We didn't discuss his nervousness. All I did was basically give him tasks to do with Rocky. If it was building an obstacle course, and if it was leading him around the field, as you can see here. And he built an obstacle course where Rocky obviously didn't participate as he wanted. He very quickly pivoted and changed the course. But the amazing thing with this is that he wasn't talking about confidence. He was experiencing it himself. The fact that he's never been with a horse, He led the horse around. He completed the obstacle course. He spent time going around to all the horses. And the most amazing thing is that he did his presentation in front of the class on horses. He came and he took pictures of the horses and asked of each horse and what they were and their names. And he ended up becoming the star of the class because everybody else did on basketball or football or soccer. And he was the only one who actually came with something different about horses. And for me, this gave me chills because we actually weren't trying to tell him, you can do this, you can manage it, make yourself confident, feel confident. He experienced the confidence by what he did. And the most heartwarming picture, you remember the picture of him before, standing next to the white horse? This is the picture of him at the end of the session. Completely different kid. Just look at that face, the smile, the satisfaction that is being shown there. I'm going to show you something very simple. I call this the circle effect. Basically, none of us operate in isolation. You affect me, I affect you. What you're going to see here is something totally random. No instruction was given to any of the three that are involved in the circle. And this is basically what happens with people. Have a look and we'll discuss it afterwards. Okay, the reason why I call this the circle effect is whatever we do, we affect someone else, and whatever somebody else does affects us. If someone is tense, we react to their tension. They react to our reaction. We react again. And before we know it, we're caught up in a whole circle of tension. Whether it's tension, whether it's anger, whether it's jealousy, it doesn't matter what it is, of course, positive and negative. When someone is really happy and comes laughing and you respond to that and they respond, you have the same circle effect, but in a positive manner. So sometimes a useful question when these kind of situations come up is not so much who started it, but what am I contributing to this? And the minute we know where our place is, what contribution we are giving, that's the point where we can cut it and stop, cut off the circle from going. Okay, now just to make everything very clear here, there's no riding with the horses. Nobody that comes to me knows about horses. There's no performances. They're not learning how to control anything. The horses are all partners in the process, and their aim or their purpose is to create awareness, which just makes it easier for people to sometimes deal with things when they become aware. This is the little kid with the horses, breathing with them, sometimes just hang out with them, brush them, walk them. This was Diamond, the day she was born, sleeping in my arms, playing with them. Of course, Rocky here, of course, had to ruin the task again by having his own agenda. We work with an obstacle course, we work with the emotion wheel, we work with the identity wheel. But the most important thing that we do is to stop, to breathe, and to notice what we are feeling, what's going on around us. A lot of mindfulness because we're out in the open, the wind, the trees, the birds, the noise the horses are making. And there isn't one exercise that fits everybody, but the exercise give us something to work with. The exercises are important because they bring out what somebody might not even know, and it gives us something to work with. The coaching comes in where it helps us to understand what it means for that specific person. The next question is not really about the horse, it's about you. So after everything that you've seen here, I'll ask you, what do you think breathing with horses is really about? Again, it's not the horse. If you ask yourself the questions, what happens when you're under pressure, when you're uncertain about something, when you feel you're losing control, if a situation comes, can you respond differently? Can you trust yourself? Breathing with horses is about learning to notice yourself. How do you respond? How can you slow yourself down? Are you capable of asking for what you need? Can you accept help? Can you trust yourself? Can you respond differently? It's a two-sided coin, but the thing that it is most is to notice yourself, to stop for a minute when something happens and notice what's going on inside of you. Now, we spend a lot of time trying to change what's happening around us. We change our work, we change our friends, we change our environment, we'll change everything around us, the circumstances, people, situations. But sometimes the main place where change actually needs to happen, it's how we respond to situations. And that's where the horses give us the opportunity to explore. Not in theory, not by sitting and talking about it, but by actually experiencing ourselves. And in order for this to happen, we first have to be in a calm state of mind, to be open to accepting these kind of things. We can convince others, we can even convince ourselves when a situation happens, but the horse responds to what is actually there. They don't respond to what we pretending or what our words say. They respond to what they actually are feeling. And I think that's one of the most honest and open lessons that a horse can give us. Because sometimes we don't need somebody to tell us what's wrong. We basically just need the opportunity to see it for ourselves. And once we can see it, that's the point where we can start making a change. And that is the method of breathing with horses. And one final question I have for you to take home after this presentation is, I wonder what a horse would show me about myself.